Set. I call to order the Westlake City Schools Board Work Session for Monday, April 14th, 2025. Roll call.
Kraft here. You're not
Here.
Fanukin
Here.
Lamb here. Lazinski
Here.
Would you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we gather today, we remember our vision. We educate for excellence, empowering all students to achieve their educational goals, to direct their lives, and to contribute to society, as well as our vision. The Westlake City School District will provide a dynamic, student-centered learning environment. Our district will be characterized by high achievement, actively engaged learners, mutual respect, shared knowledge, pursuit of new skills and capabilities, collaborative learning, willingness to take action, a team commitment to data-driven continuous improvement through a strategic planning process and tangible results. It is wonderful to see everyone out there. Thank you for coming today. Many of you I saw just a short time ago at Rotary, so thank you for presenting then and joining us today. We're going to move right into, let's see.
Did you approve the agenda?
Yeah, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Kraft,
Yes.
Lazinski,
Yes.
Fanukin,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
you're not.
Yes.
We are going
Motion
to move
carries.
right into presentations.
Sure.
Dr. Geiger?
Yep, we're going to start, Mr. Patton, if you want to bring your team up to the podium while they're heading up there, I can introduce you. So we do have Mr. Bob Patton with us here this evening, along with his inaugural internship class. This was a concept that, in talking to Mr. Wilson, and as we are looking at our strategic plan and planning for the future, one of the things that we wanted to do when expanding opportunities is to try and get real world experience for as many students that would want to participate in it. So Mr. Wilson tasked Mr. Patton with putting something together. And, we do know some of this because, as Mr. Kraft mentioned, they did come to Rotary recently as well. And Mr. Patton pretty much went to some of his AP classes and recruited and put together a really dynamic and special group of students where having that first group to come in and do something is so important. And when you get to hear about what these folks are doing, it's really a great way to start it. And our vision for the future is to hopefully have him have this experience available for more and more students. I think next year he's up to like 22 that maybe have signed up for the course. But the hard part of this is getting opportunities for kids. And so as Mr. Patton came out to Rotary, one of the goals there was to put this concept in the ear of our Rotarians and possibly being able to open up other avenues for our up and coming students. And even this evening to not only talk about it with the board, but also get out on YouTube. And if anybody is watching that would be willing to participate in this as well. So they've really done an excellent job. Mr. Patton's even reached out to Chamber and I think recently met with Nam Baker, just trying to build these opportunities. And we know that's going to be a challenge for him and his students, but it's really kind of fun to hear not only what Mr. Patton has done, but the stories of these special students who are being able to participate in it this inaugural year. So that is my introduction. I will turn it over to Mr. Patton and his students to take the rest.
Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come here, sort of explain what we're doing. Obviously, when Mr. Wilson called me last year and sort of pitched this, like, hey, do you think you'd be able to put this together? I was fortunate. I've taught AP Gov here in Westlake for quite a long time. I knew kind of the students we were looking at. I knew after talking to Mr. Wilson that we wanted to, again, truly be a pilot program where we wanted to keep the numbers small to be able to kind of figure out how to do this moving forward. So I did. I had there's one other student that was in. Judy is sick today. Wasn't able to make it. But so we started with 7. We ended up with 6. Sort of had to talk to everybody and sort of do some convincing as to, hey, I think this could be a good opportunity or a good idea for you to do this. Just to give you a little overview of kind of what this is. There's a lot of school districts across, if you just take Northeast Ohio, that have, I would call them like mentorship programs, where at the end of kids' senior year, you end school May 5th, and then kids will do a 2-week mentorship program. I think that's good, but I don't know that it gives you like a great look at maybe what it is that you may want to do or something you may want to pursue. So the idea of having this go from, you're basically looking at almost 6 months of doing this. We kept it smaller this year with 125 hours. Everybody here has had significantly over 125 hours. We moved it next year to 150. We have some requirements for kids to get into the program. It's now, instead of 1 credit, it's 2 credits. There's some things that these ladies have helped with sort of get this program going, and tremendous feedback to me. I've gotten feedback from the businesses. We would not be in the situation we're in next year with 22 kids without these kids. They've done an awesome job. They've really sort of been honest with me, and that's something I asked them last year, like, hey, if we're going to start this program, I need feedback from you as far as how to do this. So I can let each one of them kind of discuss a little bit about what they're currently doing. I know I can fill in for Judy. So Judy is, and this is, I think it's been a good experience for everybody, but Judy's working at the Cleveland Clinic at the Lerner Institute. She's worked with a medical student and done some cancer research where she's working with cells and has been able to do experiments. She did it as part of a summer internship that she got on her own. And then when she got into this program and we kind of kicked this program off, I reached out to the Cleveland Clinic. She reached out to him and was like, hey, if there's an opportunity to continue this, would you be interested? They said yes, and she's kind of continued this on throughout this year. So everybody can kind of go and give it, and then if anybody has any questions, we can go from there.
And if you want to, step up to the podium,
Yeah,
and then when you are down, and you could
Yep.
step to the side.
Okay.
Before you begin, Mr. Patton, do you remember something that Judy shared with us at Rotary, one of her conclusions that?
Oh, yeah. So one of the things, and I think this is key for everybody, I've been involved in some other school districts that had these mentorship programs. And I think sometimes when you're doing a 10 hour or 2 week, it's difficult to maybe get a real feel.
Sure.
One of the things Judy had an idea of what she was doing is she really thought that's what she wanted to do for her career. She's had a great experience. She's really enjoyed it. But the one thing she's realized is I don't really want to do that. She wants to stay in that field, but has sort of realized that with this experience, I've enjoyed it. It's been good. I've learned a lot. I've had a great opportunity, but I don't want to do that.
But one of the reasons for internships, right?
Yes, 100%.
Right.
So I'm Ava Kennedy. I work at a immunology and pathology laboratory at Case Western Reserve University. I've been there since the beginning of last summer, and I'm going to continue until July 1st when my PI is leaving for another lab. It's been a really great opportunity to do this. I kind of knew before Mr. Patton announced the program that I wanted to do research at Case, and I was actually going to ask my guidance counselor if I could combine a lunch privilege with an early dismissal so I would have enough time to get over there and get back before my practices. So when he announced this, I knew that this was going to be the perfect opportunity for me to have more time to go over to Case and, work in the lab. My PI and the 2 grad students that I work with have been super helpful, not just in teaching me, procedures around the lab, but also just how to navigate in a science world and how to approach the world in general. One of the biggest things my PI has taught me is the concept of golden eyes, which is paying attention to small things that other people might not realize, whether it's in lab experiments or, interacting with friends or talking about a discussion. And I think I've learned so many skills as far as learning procedures, how to ask questions about different experiments, how to present our findings at different lab meetings. And being there has really just given me an opportunity to see what I want to do for the future, and has definitely like reaffirmed my belief that I would like to pursue my MD PhD.
Thank you.
So my name is Kavya Val, and I'm currently interning at 42 Connect, which is a digital marketing firm. And the owner of it is actually Mr. Patton's friend, so that's how I got connected to this. But I currently work under one of their account managers, and I wanted to do marketing. I was interested in doing marketing in the first place was because I already had like an interest in business, and so I wanted to explore the marketing field since it is a big part of business and a big part of all fields in general. And so I learned a lot of different ways to like capture people's attention and kind of get them to take what you're putting down basically. Because I think that's what most businesses, that's the most important part of a lot of businesses is to get their consumers to actually really value what they're offering. And so a lot of that is with wording. And so one of the projects that I was doing was an email marketing newsletter for their firm. And so every week or every 2 weeks-ish, I would write an article about kind of the new developments in digital marketing. Like a big part of it was AI. And so the introduction of AI with a lot of these different aspects of digital marketing was kind of changing up the market. And so I'd write about those developments a lot. And what I learned was I was able to apply what I learned to a lot of the different projects I was doing. So with LLS, I know I came to one of the I came to the PTA council meeting here for LLS, but I was able to apply a lot of what I learned in my internship to my LLS campaign as well. And so I learned a lot of different skills that I definitely could use for the rest of my life. But I do think one of my conclusions too is like, although I do think marketing is very valuable, a valuable asset to have in any kind of field, I don't think I would be interested in just pursuing marketing alone. I think it's something that it's a great skill to have, but I don't know if I would want to kind of just pursue a career in just that. But yeah.
I'm Summer Spreen, and my internship was at St. John Medical Center, which Mr. Patton helped connect me with the volunteer coordinator there. But I thought it was a good opportunity for me because I think I want to go into healthcare, but I'm not exactly sure. And med school is a really big commitment. So I wanted to like make sure that that was definitely like what I wanted to pursue. And each day I would be placed within a different department and I would get to shadow the healthcare professionals in that department, see what they did on a daily basis, like what their educational pathway was to get there, and kind of see how all the different like units in the hospital work together. Some of the examples of the departments I visited were the emergency room, the ICU, graduate medical education, since St. John's is a learning hospital, which really helped me out because they did a pretty good job of explaining stuff to me when I like didn't know what was going on. But also like radiology and stuff like that. And it kind of helped me focus on some certain areas that I want to pursue more in college and see if like that's really what I want to do. And I also think that I got to interact with the patients a lot, and I really think that helped build up my like skills with interacting with people. Because like up until now, basically most of my interactions have been with my peers. So I think that those communication skills will really help me out in college.
Thank you.
And I'm Ashley Spreen, and I've been working at North Shore Gastroenterology, which is a private gastroenterology practice. It's in the Cleveland Clinic building off Columbia Road, if you know where that is. And since North Shore is a private practice, I've gotten to see both kind of the business administration and the clinical aspects of it, which I think is important to understand how like these medical facilities function as a whole. I've gotten to be in some meetings where they've talked about supply issues and done some calculations on how much does it cost for each person to do a procedure, how long does it take, how much does it vary by doctor, what are the doctor's preferences, and how do they affect how they run the business. And then I've also gotten to go around with lots of different doctors who specialize in different parts of the GI system. I've gotten to be with nurse practitioners and even some of their medical students. And actually there was a recent Westlake graduate who was there, Colin Walsh, if you know who he is. So I've gotten to be with him a little bit. But and I think it's been really helpful in helping me understand not just like what the technical skills you need to be a medical professional are, but also how important it is to be thoughtful when you're interacting with the patients and help them understand what you're offering to them and what their treatments will do and how you can help them and what options they have. Because there's a pretty big gap between how much patients understand about what you're providing them and like what you understand as a medical professional. So I've helped them figure out some ways to teach people about the different treatments we're offering to them and kind of help them feel comfortable in what they're receiving. And I do think there's not enough stress on the communication aspect and a lot of people who are looking to go in the medical field as there is on kind of like the scientific knowledge. So I think that was a really important experience for me to understand how much of a role that plays.
Did you meet Rachel Quayler there?
I did not.
Okay, she's doing her rotation. She might even be a doctor by now, but doing a rotation. She's a Westlake graduate also.
I met a couple of students, but they've been from a lot of different schools. So
Okay, Dr. Tabaz, my doctor.
yes.
He's wonderful.
He is great. It's very funny. And they're looking to offer a scholarship to the Westlake students who are there. So that's pretty cool.
Hi, my name is Antonella. I was at St. John's Medical Center and I work specifically in the pulmonology office. And what I really learned there is a lot of medical, like I learned a lot of like how to take vitals. I learned signs of heart failure and lung collapse, and I learned how to read scans of like PET scans and CAT scans. And it was very informative of really what patient care is like, because I didn't really see myself going into patient care, but I realized I actually liked it more than I thought. So that is definitely something I'm now considering as I'm going into college. But it was also just a really good learning experience from the standpoint of seeing what the different, like a doctor versus a nurse practitioner. Because the doctor would go out into the ICU and she'd be there for like a few days, and she wouldn't see every single patient, but the nurse practitioner would see every single patient. And it was definitely interesting to know if I wanted to be more around in different hospitals or be in one place like an office as the nurse practitioner was. And it's very informative.
Thank you.
So I think, as you can see, there's a reason why this has been successful this year. I don't think it takes real long when you hear the five of them. Speaking of juniors here, you could add to that. Pretty bright kids, and again, have really helped me. Good feedback that we've gotten. So like, if you go from this year to piloting it, when we did our course scheduling for next year, many of them went in to the rooms, talked to students, and we have basically tripled the amount of kids we have. And I would expect that number to keep growing as we go on. So we're 22 students next year. We actually I've already met with those kids once. We're going to meet with them again. And again, some of the feedback that we've been able to get from them is the importance of basically scheduling. So I know our guidance department is basically going to hand schedule the students that are coming in next year, so that all these kids do have an early release. So they're able to go do this during the school day. And if some of them play sports, which many of them do, I know a couple of them have other jobs outside of this, which they're all doing. So to basically make that work for students to get that experience. So that's one part of it. The second part of it was to meet our academic requirements at Westlake, to have enough credits to be able to do this. It's going to be a 2-credit class now. As they gave me, got a little feedback early that, hey, this needs to have an honors designation because this has hurt my GPA. So we added the honors designation to it too. Just again, those are some small things. There's many things that they have gotten good feedback from. And then I guess, one of the biggest things, as you can tell, pretty medical heavy this year. We have more students next year that aren't just interested in medicine. Got quite a few. It's a much wider range for next year. I know Liz's daughter is involved in this next year also, is interested in going into art. So I mean, we've got a much wider range of students' interest for next year. So like, one of the things that I have been doing, and if anybody can potentially help with that, is I'm looking for people that would be interested in potentially hosting our students. I'm trying to get as many of those contacts as I possibly can for the students that are doing this next year. So I would be happy if anybody's got any questions for me.
Questions from the board?
If we could bring the students back up to ask them some questions as well, along with you, Mr. Patton. Just a comment, you've done an incredible job, I think, in kicking this off. And even as Kavya was saying, you know, her placement is from through her friend of yours. So that's how things get started at times. You know, it's networking through this person that you met and that person you may know previously. So we're hoping it grows from there. And having heard you at Rotary already, just something that, and Mr. Patton said it a moment ago, where although it may have impacted your GPA, specifically, you know, with it not being an honors designation or that sort of thing, some of you shared that you believed that it was a benefit, though, whether it's either on applications or other type of things, to be able to add this experience to it. Do you feel like in that component, when you were either explaining it or in an interview or applying for a school, did you feel it had any benefit? And if so, do you have an example or?
Yes.
I think for me personally, it really helped because my PI was willing to write me a letter of recommendation for college. He was very passionate about the schools I was applying to and encouraged me to kind of branch out and apply to places that I thought I might not get into. And he wrote me a very strong letter of recommendation, along with connecting me to various people at different schools and professors. I think that definitely had an impact on my application and might be one of the main things that got me into the schools it did.
And did you, anybody else was gonna chime in?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say for me, one of the biggest factors in choosing to do this was that, if otherwise I would have had to take a bunch of classes that I didn't really want to take in order to fulfill the credit requirements for graduation. And I feel like this, like going out and actually seeing how this, what I've been learning for the past 12 years actually functions in the real world in a field that I'm interested in was so much more valuable in me trying to decide like what I wanted my major to be and what I cared about, and kind of writing some of those like supplemental essays, which is more about your personal goals and just kind of the things that you enjoy. I think it was a lot more helpful in actually getting to do something rather than just sitting in the classroom being like, well, I have to be here because I have to graduate. So that was what it was for me, I guess.
Yeah, I would say specifically, I think it really helped you stand out. Like a lot of schools really focus on like your extracurriculars now, and that's not like an opportunity a lot of other students get. And being able to include that, and then also like some of the supplemental questions that a lot of schools would ask, like, oh, how'd you get interested in your like field? Well, I had an example right there to be like, I had experience in this and I did this, and that was really helpful for writing all those essays because pretty much every student had it. So I would definitely recommend.
What schools were you, I mean, are you considering just going down the line, starting with Kavia?
I'm committed to UPenn.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna commit to Northwestern.
I'm still deciding, but my front runner right now is UNC.
Also still deciding, but probably UCLA.
I'm committed to Overland College.
Okay. So
What,
pretty
no
well.
Ohio State here? Actually, I think all of you are well ahead of the game because I know kids that are juniors in college and they still don't have a clue of what they want to do. So that you could eliminate something or think that you have an interest to pursue it further. You're just so far ahead of.
And that may, look, and that may still change. I mean, I know
Oh, sure.
it changes for a lot of us. I mean, there's a lot of people probably sitting up here and in this that thought they were going to do X and ended up going a different direction, whether it was after school or after grad school. It can happen. And the thing I think that's good for something like this is you are getting some experiences. And I don't want to put down like, because at the high school, we offer a ton of really, really good electives, and there's some great like classes that kids can take to do things. I just think this is a different pursuit, and I do think it's a different opportunity for kids that want to maybe, hey, all these kids up there, and I know a lot of their paths. I mean, they're taking quite a few AP classes, and I think this fit with. I think that was getting over sort of the hump of getting kids to understand that, hey, you can do this, and this is going to look just as good on a resume to get into college as it might be taking one or two more AP classes or this or a CCP class. This is going to be good for you for many, many reasons. I mean, one of the things I don't know that is that they're not at this point yet. I just know this because I've had other kids with basketball connections and things. One of the things I think will look really good in a year or two, if they do want to do something, they're freshman to sophomore year of college, sophomore to junior year of college. I think it's a differentiator between them and some other people, where if you're looking at an internship between your junior and senior year of college or sophomore, junior, and one of the questions comes up, you can absolutely, hey, I did this for 6 months. I did something just like this. I had this experience. So I think some employers might be a little bit more inclined for these students than maybe somebody who hadn't had that experience and is just looking for their first time, where these people have been involved in a business, had to be around, had to do things, had expectations on them. I know some of them have had some projects throughout the course of the years that they've been given, like, hey, you can do this and then report back. So I think it's been just a different experience for people. And I do, like I said, I mean, they did an awesome job. I was not expecting. I know when I told Mr. Wilson, I was hoping we would double it next year for year 2. I wasn't expecting 22 kids, but I think that's a testament to when they went in and talked about their experience and did a really good job about selling the program. So I think a lot of the credit goes to them and kind of what they did and how they were able to sell it this year.
And even their bravery for going into a class that didn't exist before,
Yep.
but also going in, and all of you probably knew your GPA down to a significant decimal point, and go into it and say, you know, this is probably not going to help my GPA, but it's going to help me. And to be able to see past that, I think is huge. And it's a great thing for you guys. Any other?
Well, and Mr. Patton, we've heard a lot about the program through Mr. Wilson. And it's wonderful to hear again for the second time. I'm just as amazed time 2, hearing about the wonderful program and all the things you're doing. So thank you, Mr. Wilson. Thank you, Mr. Patton. I think about those connections that you touched on, and how might you reach out to those connections in the future? Sometimes it's just maybe an annual note or letter from when you head off to school. Just wanted to tell you about what I'm doing, because those people are going to be continue to be influential people in your lives. But that connection many times is very important. I think about some of those projects that you worked on, and how will you remember all of those things that you accomplished, say this year, and add it to your portfolio so that you can pull it out in that interview 1 to 5 years from now, because it will be significant. So great work. Any other thoughts or questions?
Knowing the growth, and also knowing, having worked with Claire on trying to help her find different options, knowing you're gonna be looking for different positions for next year, if there's particular areas, you know, whether it's marketing, coding, whatnot, if you could get that to Mr. Wilson, he can get it to us this way. Sometimes it helps sort of like, hey,
Yeah.
so-and-so would be a good person to talk
I
to.
have, so like I said, I met with the kids who signed up for the class next year. I met with them a couple weeks ago. We are actually meeting tomorrow morning before we go out on break, because I kind of gave them a couple things. This was feedback that a couple of them, like Ava didn't mention it. Ava and Judy kind of got 100%. They wanted to do an internship with these individual programs, and they sent, I don't know how many you sent out.
40.
Yeah, they sent out quite a few emails to different places and got responses back. It's one of the things when I talk to the kids right off the bat is to, hey, not a bad idea for you. If you kind of have an idea what you want, put a resume together. I'll be happy to look at it. If you want to put together an email, I'll look at it and kind of help you structure it, and then send it out to some people. So it's one of the things I talked about a couple weeks ago. I know your daughter already has done that. I'm meeting with kids tomorrow to kind of see who else has done it. The other thing I told them is, hey, if you've got some contacts, if dad, uncle, dad's friend, mom's friend has somebody that does something and it might be something you want to do, now's the time to use those. And then I can follow up with those people. And that's kind of some of the things I've been doing. I've had quite a few meetings with individual businesses and in different groups. Went to the Rotary Club. I met with Nan Baker. I'm actually meeting with a person that she put me in touch with. I've sent quite a few emails out. Just about everybody that's hosted our kids this year is going to host them again, with the exception, I think, of Case, just because they're going through some stuff right now that I don't know that they're going to be able to. But everybody else is planning on hosting our kids. So I'll be happy to get it. And then look, the truth be told, if anybody has a contact or anything, feel free to send the email my way. I will take it from there and reach out to that person and make the contact. And the most difficult part is once I've been able to explain it to people, had really, really good feedback. It's sometimes business community, not the easiest to return emails and phone calls. That has been challenging.
Have you reached out to the alumni?
I did. I actually had 2 meetings with them. I met with them and then we did a conference call last week. Provided them, they've been really good. Gave them a bunch of information. We put together a flyer that they're gonna send out to a bunch of people. We are supposed to touch base again, so I kind of gave them some dates, just some target dates. Like I said, I'm meeting with kids tomorrow morning. When we get back from break, I'm gonna wait till AP testing is over, because again, a lot of the kids that are in this program this year, they're all taking multiple AP classes. It's a lot of the same kids next year that are taking multiple AP classes. So I'm gonna let AP testing get done. Then we're gonna meet back-to-back weeks, and hopefully by that particular point, I will have quite a bit of feedback back from Chamber of Commerce, some people from the Rotary Club, from the Alumni Association, where I will have, and then just the people that I've met with, I'll have a good idea. As I told you guys at the Rotary Club, one of the things I'm trying to do is get as many people as possible, maybe not everybody, but try to get as many people by when they walk out of school in June. We'll have a pretty good idea about where everybody's going to be at. Just makes the transition easier in August, September, just because for seniors, that when we're starting, we're looking at starting the first 2 weeks of October. Transition in August, September, it goes very fast. They're doing a lot, seniors are doing quite a bit of stuff with, you talk about homecoming, writing college essays, applying to colleges, visiting colleges. There's a lot of stuff going on in those first 6-7 weeks. So I'd like to try to make that transition as smooth as possible, so that when those kids do get started, August and September are more about, here's my schedule and know where I'm going. Try to set up a schedule that kind of works for the business and for the person. So that's what we're kind of, so anybody that has anybody, feel free. I would
Yeah, can you send us
I will.
or email us like a flyer or a one pager?
I have two things. I have a kind of expectations from a business standpoint, like, hey, here's what we're looking for. And I have it from a student standpoint. So I'll get it to everybody tomorrow morning.
I'll forward it out to people I know. So.
Okay, that'd be great.
Did any of the internships involve a formal text? Like, this is what we do, here's a book, I want you to read it, and it's gonna help you understand. I'm just curious, yes?
I had to go through a lot of safety training.
Okay.
Beforehand, so there were about 3-hour safety meetings.
Got it.
And then we have a bunch of books in the lab over like different safety protocols that I had to go through
Helpful.
and take like an end of safety unit test
Sure.
on it, so.
Cool. Thank you. Anyone else? Just curious.
I can speak, so one of the things that they're all gonna get, I met with somebody at the Greater Cleveland Partnership, Emma Maloney. They're all gonna get an IT certification for this year, because everything that everybody did involved IT in some way,
Sure.
some form. So we kind of set that up, all the kids next year will get the same thing, Emma's gonna continue this with us, so it's another sort of like added bonus.
Thanks.
They don't need it from a pathway to graduation, but that is something,
Right.
it's something that you
Added,
can add on to graduation and have moving forward. So they'll all have that as they move forward there too. And Emma's gonna, like I said, she's gonna continue that for next year for our students.
Pre-apprenticeship.
Yeah, it's a pre-apprenticeship program through Greater Cleveland Partnership. So we did it, we met with her last year and I met with Emma at the beginning of the year. They're all gonna get that. I just have to wait till they're all done. So as soon as they're all done, I'll send that paperwork out to them and then they'll get all that certification.
Super. Anything else from the board?
No,
Thank you.
I was gonna email Matt Dolan, but he's already been contacted at GCP.
Who's that?
Matt Dolan?
I have not met with him. I met with Emma does their pre-apprenticeship program. So look, if you've got somebody, send them.
Go for
I'd
it.
be happy
Yeah.
to try to hook up with them also.
Awesome. Anything else?
Good luck.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you
you.
again.
Great. Dr. Goggin, we'll move on.
Yes, we will. We have another great group coming up here, and we have a couple of our teachers leading it from Dover Intermediate School. We have Bridget and Angie coming up to talk to us about the Dover campus. So they were here earlier. We had, they were presented a grant through the Educational Foundation, and they presented earlier about what they have been doing so far over at Dover Intermediate School. And
for a night in the garden, which you can see there. Standing in the field of grass to that same spot in the center photo and the right photo, where we now have students out activities. So, as we shared last time, we're working with students, parents, members, staff, businesses, and other community volunteers. And for now 5 years, so half a decade, we've been on this adventure to improve outdoor learning, and we've accomplished quite a bit in that time. And if you'll head to the next slide. One of the things we've really been focusing using seeking out ways in the classroom, nature. Can really maximize our student and our staff engagement in these spaces and really continue to improve the outcomes for our Westlake City School students if we have a comprehensive design. And so you're going to hear a little bit about our action for that this evening and some of the things we've already done to try and fund that. But first, I'm going to turn it over to Tiffany Garcia, both a parent. Hi, my name is. So I have an 8th grader and a 5th grader currently. Both of my children have had the privilege of having these 2 wonderful teachers here for science and math. When my daughter was the 8th grader now, when she was in 5th grade, she spent about half the year, in her words, planning and collaborating with classmates to plan this pollinator garden. And then she recruited me to come help her plan plants. We did all the planting. And from there, I've kind of been hooked with her. Part of the project, when they started the garden, they had some students submit essays for a contest about what pollinators mean to them. And she won a little award and got to present it. And from there came home and said to her dad, can we please do something to support bees? Please, we need to. We've learned like they're rough shape, we need to support them. And so from there, we now have 3 beehives at our house. We are 4 years of that. We've been learning a lot about it. Provided honey for our neighbors, and it's interesting to see how it's grown. Our neighbors now are not spraying. They're planting more native wildflowers. It's just become this thing, it's how it pull out into the community is kind of amazing. And they don't all have kids. Some of them are retired or whatnot, and that's kind of wonderful. She was there. She wished that there had been a playground that they get some types out. So there's more places besides the black. Now they can go in the garden. Been brainstorming about some more things that my son said it would be awesome. Nature walk. There is kind of a place that on the property there are trees lining the backside of the house area. And for the things I'm there for recess, but certain groups have been created. Right now, I let them go up in the corner is actually outside of guidance counselor's office. They can go in there to a quiet space and into the outdoor cozy corner.
So we had, remember a parent cut some logs. Our plan was to put them in the ground so the kids could walk around and then we needed them, kind of make the ground for safety. So they've been sitting out there since summer. But these kids, they've been carrying them over one by one, their 20-minute recess, and they have in the little wooded area where I can see them, almost like a little fire pit that they hang out, and they climb on them and they sit and chat, and that's now grown into another space. So I think there's the need, especially with the fifth graders, that want them outside engaging with nature. So I'm hoping like maybe this can grow and change that we can get these kids that maybe don't have access to the backyard. The 20 minutes at recess, or join our environmental club or service club with that help line. So our higher. They help us in that and high school. So our garden, they won't out your time before, during, and after installation. And for one whole thing, and all the students there, roughly time. We're so good with the kids. Brought a team of other us donated not only their time but also labor and resources. So I think for a lot of reasons. One is the feel. I've been, but again, even here are always going down. Driving past one day, nice big house, got the teacher house. That's where I want to be. If I hadn't drove by, I hadn't drawn the other. I think that. I think obviously. I can't imagine this being like this. But like what you're doing is, I had a group of kids volunteer to go birding with me today. And just there's a parent up there. That like 6 months ago, I could think about her daughter. I mean, I take her in the woods. Her hand. So like, I think kids are craving this. Don't get it more. I'm telling you, the amount of kids they got from mom. I think also there's a lot. Found out that that's also get there. And then, as you're well aware, there are many issues that come with diversity and building in the district. So I think this would be one of those ways that we can increase our staff and student pride in the space. Getting that out of space so beautiful and school. A lot of teachers used to fit space in front of the school, and that's been removed. So it'd be nice. They'd really love to go out there and having another space outside that we can take with that. Great. Why we need your help for this? I think we've been pretty good about securing our own funding up until now. We've seen over $15,000 in grants support. However, we've never been able to find a grant that will fund non-physical materials. Like everybody wants to, go get the kids outside, but to fund like a landscape designer, not a lot of that. But I'm finding that again, like all of our things, trying to put it together, like we're not. We had the whole plan from the beginning. So I think if we have the architectural plan, with the architectural plan, we will be able to ask the community to support us, businesses, the sponsor, that took upon that kind of situation. So we reached out to Patty for, this is my brand, but I think there's so many places that are so actually.
Got it. Yeah, I think multiple public spaces over the years. Libraries, churches, cemeteries, or human colony. Done sensory gardens for, special needs. Private residents. This was one project that started a few years ago that we did, and I thought might be beneficial to see where, James A. Garfield School here in Ohio, they have this giant open space, between parking lots, that's the main bus route that you're looking at where the kids get on the buses. It's too slow, they can't do anything beneficial with it, like the kids can't do sports, things like that. But it's a central part of their campus, and they had approached us the idea of trying to come up with something useful to do with this space. So we ended up, we created a plan for this area. This, their board office is adjacent to this also, so it actually includes spaces that like the board offices as well as so from a design perspective, they have reached out to us and said, how can we use this? Love the idea of eventually getting some outdoor classrooms, things like that. We don't know how it works. You know, the students are always tinkering pavement, on the parking lot, on the road and the buses, things like that. How can we get a safe place to sit on a waiting for the bus, congregate, and things like that. So we ended up creating a section of the classrooms. That I mentioned the board office and the event center. So they had something that they could use, not funding this project all at once. They didn't. They checked all the boxes. It's created pathways. Seeing space. So that. And they get a. It up, kind of start representation of the world. So, 5 years. A couple, how that I on. It's seen and budget. So never that kind of, so showing you that is kind of where the direction, it was asked a bit from a design standpoint, put together a set of plans, right? Have something that can be implemented in phases, have some. So. So, I generated a proposal.
Conceptual design without squatter spaces. This conceptual design plan needs outdoor areas at the middle school. Transforming them into vibrant, functional spaces that foster a deep connection to nature while instilling a sense of civic pride. The plan serves as a guiding vision, development of 3 courtyards, the main entrance, 2 recess areas, retention basins at the front and the back of the school, and the existing pollinator garden. Focused on maximizing the use of underutilized spaces, the design will highlight outdoor classrooms, interactive learning environments, and serene areas opposed to faculty and natural world. Our design goals: outdoor classroom and learning areas, designated spaces that encourage learning beyond traditional indoor classrooms, seamlessly integrating nature into the education experience. A nature connection: consider pathways, seating areas, communal spaces that allow students, faculty, public to experience nature while promoting mental well-being, environmental awareness. Walking past, consider walking past neighborhood wide courtyards, other spaces, encouraging movement and exploration, and enhancing the aesthetic flow of the school grounds. Pollinator and native plant gardens incorporate pollinator-friendly plants, native species throughout the landscape to support local ecosystems and provide educational opportunities on the importance of biodiversity and functional use of spaces. Reimagine unused and underutilized areas to serve dual purposes, including outdoor meeting spaces, quiet retreat areas, and interactive learning zones. I think that's one of the big things. So, typically a project like this, I would expect starting point, we probably have about 100 hours worth of my design team's time putting it together. For design work, for my team, charge $150 per hour. That's our entire team. We have 9 professionals on staff: landscape designers, landscape architects, construction professionals, estimators, things like that. So we do your quick math, 10, 100 hours, 15,000 would be probably about a pretty good starting point. If you went out and hired a landscape architect firm for this scope of work, it would be, I would guess, minimum twice that would be the starting point. The Patty Group is committed to giving back to our communities. Before I wrote this up, I approached my owners, told them what I wanted to do, told them I wanted to be a part of this. They basically said, cover our direct costs and you can get it done. So for this design work, that scope of work, I presented a design agreement at $7,080. Give you a quick rundown of what that looks like. Design will focus on overall themes of civic pride, one with nature, ensuring that the school's outdoor spaces reflect strong connection to the community and commitment to the environmental stewardship. This is a conceptual guide, so there would be no construction details, no plant labels, bid documents, anything like that. But it serves as a foundational vision to steer the thoughtful development of these outdoor spaces in the future. Typically, the way this process would go, we would create base plans, scale drawings of what the buildings look like. We would put down what we call a bubble diagram, some loose kind of ideas on how things should lay out, the way they would function. Bring those back before anything gets developed. I have to be careful with your dollars, our time doing this. So I don't go too far without being hit. So loose concepts in place, come back, their approval. For anybody who wants to sit in or anybody who they tell me needs to be there. I'm pretty open. I'll lay it out there for everybody. So, once we got that approval, yes, things are headed in a very good direction. We'd go back down. We ended up finishing creating scale drawings for those areas, 3D images to go along with them, that, so that they would have a set of plans. Pathway, well, success and actually sell project.
The cost is $7,080 or
$7,080. Yes.
what are the plans afterward for?
It would be very open, you know, the pollinator garden that we did, the original slide, that would be,
Presentation back up.
it was, you know, just things, some land, right? You could, that area, you know, once they had drawn up a set of plans, right? They had showed them to me, so here's what we're gonna do, help with this. Absolutely, I give something to look at. That'd be something where you can spend $15,000-$20,000 without batting an eye. But as soon as they get a couple businesses to bring in and help with some of the materials, reach out to contacts we have, giant logs we deliver to make built-in benches. All of a sudden, I don't know. Out of pocket. I was gonna, well, let's just say for instance, parents have a pathway to the seating of ponder, teach. You could go out and buy that bench. Or you find a business or, you know, so say how much is each piece of it going to cost? There's a tremendous range of it. And usually maybe it's always a way to get there. As long as you have a plan of what that game is.
I think of an example, the Westlake Education and how many foundation purposes did something like that. I know the foundation. Higher plan. And part of the answer is taken was we have to have, we want this design professional. But the educational foundation said, hey, one of the things that we want to do is we want to have a site say, hey, here's the bench, the table or something that or ABC company. Once you have, if you weren't willing to put money into the design, where's the Whereas once it's designed, once it's there, once the template is laid. Like that.
Right, it's so
Great. Yeah.
the goal with the plan would be where all the red spots are marked.
Stars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
There.
But it's gonna change, so don't even be looking at it.
I didn't.
For it.
$7,000 also.
Our meeting started
Give or take a few dollars. Yeah, it's just around it. All right, good evening, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to present on funding. It's me in this position. So I'm going to be discussing permanent improvement fund. As you know, permanent improvement funds are designated for maintaining, upgrading, expanding our facilities and infrastructure. These funds are essential for us to keep our facilities and campuses safe and functional. So when I look at permanent improvement funds, there's kind of four main categories that I consider. Safety and security, so that's everything from security cameras to panic buttons. Another category is facility maintenance and upgrades. Those are the things that I kind of consider attached to and inside the buildings. Roofs, roof replacements, flooring replacements and upgrades, cabinetry, especially as we look at smaller homes. Transportation and parking is another category. This fund also is used for the purchase of vehicles, school buses, and maintaining parking lot structure. And finally, athletic and extracurricular. So renovations to our field, replacing turns, upgraded lighting, that kind of stuff. Our current PI levy revenue is approximately 1.1 million that we bring in annually.
I want to note, and I put it there this year and for the next 4 years, so 5 years total. That out of that one approximate 1.1 million, it's $100,000 every year. That goes. So realistically, what we have to work with is $1 million every year. Which sounds like a lot of money, but we'll dig into it here a little bit. And you'll see that it's fairly. So starting out, I wanted to call out predictive PI expenditures, right? So predictive PI expenditures are those things that we can see scheduling out in the future. Things like parking lot, resealing, crack fill, sealing, striping. That's done to extend the life of our parking lots, maintain our facility, not just visually, but also extending that lifespan. Bus replacements. Our goal is to have 3 per year. We don't have really a small, our fleet is kind of large size. There are about 40 school buses in our fleet currently. So replacing 2 or 3 buses a year puts us at a 12 to 15 life cycle. Vehicle replacement, again, I look at that as our white fleet. So our pickup trucks that maintenance uses, our pony van, our vans that are used by transportation, transport students. You look at approximately 1 replacement a year. We have 12 right now in our fleet. So again, that puts us at that 12 or 13 year cycle. And then some other projects. Being on our short-term PI list here, this is a list of projects that we targeted for the next 3 to 6 months to be completed. When looking through beyond those predictive expenditures that we need to make, when looking through what other things that are on our list as potential expenses would be, I looked at urgency and safety as the #1 factor. Next, the educational impact, the long-term cost savings, that's something that's more and ultimately the budget efficiency. $1 million to work with approximately. So fitting in as much as we can with that number. So working our way down this list here, mobile panic buttons. I know there's been some discussion there about that, a lot of discussion. I anticipate seeing that on the next regular board meeting as an agenda item. That's going to be the OSC cooperative purchasing, so it's a better price that way. And a portion of that is going to be paid for Ohio Attorney General grants. So that 57,000 total number for the system, that's going to come out of PI along with the 1,000. The next item is the vestibule configuration of PIS. We've been working on that here since last fall, and I'll come back to that discussion. The IS again, that asphalt playground in the back. I know that's a hot topic. It's been on our radar for a couple of years. It is one that's in not great shape. It's starting to have a bit of a concern for safety. So that's something we'd like to take care of. That's received a quotation, and I hope to have that summer. Rooftop unit replacement at the PAC. That's something that the board approved back in winter, at the end of the school year. That is scheduled to be installed and up and running for spring break. That's hearing it's a chip. Hot water storage tank at the high school as well. We had an issue with a tank that sprung a leak temporarily, and it's something that needs to be replaced. So it doesn't fail, it causes a significant amount of damage. I'm getting in the process of gathering estimates for that. And then some other things here, door replacements in the transportation building. Stuff that has needed to be addressed. Vehicle replacement for maintenance team. It's on there as well. Transportation just happens to be up in the rotation for parking lot crack fill, reseal, striping, so we'll be completing the front and rear lots as part of that project. Tables and chairs for here at the board office. And then interior painting at the high school. I want to touch on that as well. The interior painting items listed on these are kind of placeholders, right? So we know that we need to kind of have a refresh every so often. But I wanted to let the board know that after walking through the building, speaking with Principal Woods and head custodian there, it seems like there's not as much of a need there. I think that project will be scaled back. There are some areas that have some specialized textured paint that some work, but thanks to the custodial crew there in that building, over the years, they've painted sections of the building over the summer and during breaks. So I kind of, when I was thinking about that, I don't know if you know the Golden Gate Bridge, right? They start painting at one end and they work their way, and by the time they're done, they start over again. I feel like that's kind of what's been going on there a little bit. And so I'm glad to say that that's a better place than I thought it was.
You know how much you paid each?
I have not gotten to that point here, but I think it's gonna be a small portion of the budget. Should free up some funds for other projects. So that we'll discuss that. Now we're at finance. Ultimately, when you combine our anticipated or recurring expenditures with those one-offs that we have to decide what we're gonna do every year, you see that our PI, projected PI expenditures are well above our budget this year. This year alone, we had a total of just under $2.5 million projects that we had listed out. And again, most of those are needs, some of them are wants. Just looking forward in years 2026 and 27, you can see that we're above that amount all the way. So we need to potentially have some discussions about how we want to proceed in maintaining our facilities, what our priorities are.
I think the challenge is Mr. House and I have spoken through this, and I appreciate you presenting this tonight, Mr. House. This is very similar to the information that he brings and his predecessor before him that brought to our finance meetings to kind of discuss, looking at going back to the beginning of his presentation. We bring in about $1 million a year in PM. And so as we look at these pieces, we have a couple different options. Obviously, we can continue to postpone items further along and just keep pushing them out, and handling it that way. Some of it is, questions on what is the appetite of the board or the district. And as Mr. House has said, we've about 40 buses. If they replace 3 per year, you're looking at about 13, 14-year replacement cycle on each bus. Is that number that we're good with, or are we good with a 20-year replacement cycle? Is that and so that frees up some more money on that. So it's looking to go through these expenditures, say, what do we want to postpone? What do we want to prioritize? And then saying, okay, do we want to do it with other money? We have general fund dollars at some point in our conversations, at least initially through finance. I think we've brought it up in some of the public meetings as well. We're probably going to have to look at doing PI, an additional PI or a bond issue, either way, at some point to address some of these larger projects. Because again, when you're looking at what's in front of you here and just doing some very, very quick math, we've got about $5 million to take in over the next 5 years in PI. But got 11, say, 13, $14 million, $15 million on the screen there. That's we're looking at, and so we're nowhere close to being able to cover what this costs. harm. Again, some of them are wants, but most of them are needs. Really, a lot of them, as Mr. House is saying, when you're looking at sealing the parking lots, we're not doing it to make the stripes brighter. We're doing it as a long-term investment to extend the use of that parking lot without it crumbling away and having to do a full replacement. So, pieces like this, we look at it as investments in our facilities, not necessarily just trying to, make greater lines for the parking. So when we look through these different pieces, we are seeking, again, through finance, we've started with, but we're seeking input from the board on how we want to handle these. Because as our teachers brought up, DIS is the oldest building. There is crumbling, playground in the back, and that's being addressed, this summer. There's plans for that already. But, there's constantly these pieces that jump in here. The other piece that I just have to, talk about as a little bit is, we have the same expenses as any of you or me as homeowners. Okay, just exponentially great. So Mr. Lozinski leaned over here and said when we're looking at a roof for this building, that's about $1 million. It's not a $30,000 roof or $50,000 roof, it's $1 million. We have not a hot water tank, but a hot water storage tank. Because the way that our buildings are set up is you heat X number of gallons, it goes into storage tanks, it gets circulated throughout the building, so you have hot water available, and then back and reheated. The storage tank is a $15,000. Is that end up what it's coming in at?
I believe it's the quote that I got, and I'm still working through it, was just a little bit under that.
Okay, so but $10,000 to $15,000 on a storage tank for our hot water system. So things, and that was not something we were planning on replacing. That one is at the high school, and so you are getting to the point with some of your equipment at the high school where you're what are we, about 15 years in on the high school since opening it, maybe a little longer now, but we're getting to the point where we have things pop up. And we're not expecting to replace it, but we need to because, like in this case, it's leaking and cannot be repaired. So it makes it very challenging as we look at PI trying to manage the needs, the wants, the emergencies that pop up, and make sure they all, are addressed.
The electronic board signage, especially being able to scale back the painting of WHS, the Dover campus, while we know where the Dover campus is, we do have a fair number of people who are coming that do not know. I would really encourage us to move that as a higher priority. Also, it's the only one that does not have any signage. And whether we're talking our medical services, emergency services, soccer tournaments that take place, it would really help for, a family member picking up or dropping off who don't know where these buildings are. I think some signage in the front there would be extremely helpful for a number of people. I know we're gonna have a conversation further about what's going on with state funding and potentially, the impact of carryover and whatnot. I mean, when we did pass this PI, and I was not on the board at the time, but I was involved in the levy committee at the time, or the operating fund committee. We knew that 1.1 million was not enough.
Correct.
And we've always known that. More than likely, I'm guessing if, I've said repeatedly, when we go back to the ballot, whether we break some out as additional PI money or particularly a specific fund for whether it's redoing the PAC or the PAC in athletic facilities and specifically naming certain things out, would definitely be, I think, helpful for a number of people in the city, in the community. And, we've been chipping away at DIS, but at the same time, there's still some things that do need to end up happening, whether it's talking about, the floor replacement or the cabinetry. I know definitely needs to, but we've been going through putting the new vestibule in. So I think we've done, thank you to the finance committee for, making sure that some elements keep moving forward. One thing, and I'm sitting here just trying to kind of figure out, I think it'd be helpful if we just sort of, okay, here's kind of what we need to spend still at DIS. In the pack, like for a renovation of the pack.
By facility.
Yeah, but I think I would like to, I mean, I can still keep doing the back of the envelope numbers here, but.
Well, and I think some of the pieces, so let me answer your question there, or let me address your statement there first, and then I do want to talk about the vestibule real quick. We need to give an update on that. When we look at some of the numbers, so for instance, there are some of the pieces on here that we view as needs for the pack. There, if you're looking at doing a full-blown renovation of the pack, that would be very, very different than numbers that are presented here in front of you. You know, this does not include, I've not seen anywhere on here about talking about full redecorating of the interior. And I've had, and the reason I use that as an example is I've had people ask me about that, of when are we doing the full tear out and redecorating everything. That's not something that's put in on your PI. We're looking at more of maintenance that would need to be maintenance items, or I think we might have, you know, lighting or things like that that are
Rigging,
you know,
yeah.
rigging more of the actual behind the scenes nuts and bolts that make everything.
And that's what's here, right?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Because you're feeling the pack needs more than that.
No, I think it needs a renovation, but I think that's been the hardest thing is, sure, I mean, I know that there's a speaker or two that's not working, you know, right before one of the shows, hose became
Right.
disconnected and the pit had water getting into it. So, yeah, I mean, a renovation would be great, but how do you do that before some of the other things that we have on our list?
Understood.
So that's.
I think
Okay,
it
balance.
depends
Yeah.
on sort of, you know, in renovation, it's gonna be much more either a big spend. Whether it's something that goes on a ballot initiative or whether it's a spend down.
Well, on a quick tangent, just what happened if we did. And so there is a sump down there. It just happened. Yeah, it happened, today, we have to go. There's a sump in there that collects water, right? It's deep well, there is a pump in there. What I understand, there was section there that was made, that pressure was up in the part. Sector, so that should have. That's. Same area. Different, I guess the pump failed. When I understand, but when that flooded and then flooded the pit with the stage. It was kind of well, we're lucky this time the water didn't go into the pit where the corkscrew lifts are for the stage. They were in that final issue. Is it?
There's the outlet disconnect.
Correct.
So the pump was
Pumping
pumping,
water
instead of
out.
going out, it was pumping in just within itself.
So I would caution or to either not to and to hear things. It's been a long time resident of Westlake, and it's the path. Things have been
all of the projects. School project. Away back around 2014, the state government changed the names, allowed some different things to do. We did our elementary school as construction risk, and then we did our police software design of the building. The project this size grew to be designed. Where it was. 3 weeks. Mr. House lives. You know, because no one responded, it's not, you know, they don't necessarily tell you why they're not responding. They just literally don't respond. Well, so we went back to the attorney and said, hey, what do we do right now? He said, okay, well, you know, what are some companies you've worked with in the past? How do you call them through it? And so we've done that. And so we've reached out to a couple companies directly. We've had some ongoing conversations with one of them. The other one we're waiting for some more information on. The one company that we've been having ongoing conversations with said they just missed the notice. And so they didn't see it and therefore, you know, didn't respond. So we're working with them to try to get things worked out. Now, as this whole process and some of it ran overlapping, but we had worked with what's called a criteria architect, and it was
Bill Doty.
Bill Doty. Okay, so he's a local architect.
Correct.
And so the criteria architect, and again, similar to like what we did with baseball, softball, we had, I think, O Sports did it, correct? And they kind of give you an idea of what you're doing. Not far off from what the gentleman was talking about, you know, tonight. You kind of give you a vision of this. And so Mr. Doty did a proposed vision of this. And then that's what your companies are supposed to work off to give you bids and stuff. Giving that to these two companies, asking for proposals, the one company we're in contact with does not feel that it could happen this summer. Okay. So let me re-stress that. Does not feel that it could happen this summer.
Because they're just so backed up.
Well, I think it's a combination of things, including, and I'll be the first one to tell you, they sent me some wonderful pictures from 2013 when that vestibule was added. Okay, and it's far more integrated than you would think. And so when they took off the entire brickwork of the building to add on and add steel structure and rebuild that whole area. So it was, I mean, they've got pictures of the whole building just side open, the corner open there when they took it down, put all that glass.
Just doesn't have that two level,
It doesn't have the two piece, correct. Multifactorial almost.
Yes.
For technology terms, but not exactly. So they don't feel that it could happen to take it all down, put a new one in before the students are in, and being your main entrance, it's going to become a challenging piece. So what they have talked about is, are we as a district open to different ideas?
Yes.
Okay. And so they've brought up is saying, okay, one option would be leaving the vestibule as is, and then adding a smaller vestibule onto the office area. So the office area would have your 2 levels of security. Okay. And it would be separate from your entrances that your students go through at the beginning and end of day. Okay, that's option number 1 that they would offer.
Figuring the inside versus.
Well, we wouldn't be able to do it inside.
No.
The inside of the office at DIS, you know it better than I do.
Yeah, I don't believe there's enough space in there to create an internal vestibule. It's a tight space to work in, and it wouldn't be ideal. You maybe have room for 1 or 2 people in that space.
So it's putting an addition then in front of it.
It'd be putting something in that courtyard,
Okay.
right in front of that doorway into the
Would that
office.
satisfy the security needs then?
Well, in that essence, you would have a door on the outside that would then give you an airlock between a second secure door before you go into the office. So it would be much smaller vestibule than any of our other buildings, but it would serve that same purpose. doors, where it would both be a temperature airlock and then also 2 levels of secure doors that you have to access before you.
Do you have estimates that might be a little pricey?
I think.
I haven't received estimates on that, but I would imagine so based on the scope.
When we think about that administrative area. All administrative areas. Can create another entrance easily.
Well, that-
Pulling up the sky blocking. Others on. The entry. Office. Farther back, I don't know, is that a ridiculous idea to think about?
So we're open to any idea. And this is where just having conversations with the
Administrative area.
construction. The other one that we've talked about is, as you go into DIS, you have that brick work, not really an archway, but a entryway, I'll call it. That needs to be rebuilt anyways. Okay. What about putting your secure set of doors there?
Why not?
So it wouldn't be it would be a secured courtyard. It would not be a secured vestibule because you'd have an open area, but the walls are 9-10 feet high.
Yeah, nobody would, yeah.
I mean, you're not
Not gonna scale.
jumping over that brick wall.
Right.
And then you could put something there and you'd have maybe an overhang to keep a little bit out of the weather. No, we would actually look at doing like doors, actual physical doors.
Picture that.
Think of an example at the what's like Porter Public Library, have you ever been in the courtyard? I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but the fencing around that is US Embassy constrained. Something along those lines.
And we have gates on the back of our courtyards of the.
Yeah, exactly. I think that.
So, yeah, we have, for the back entrances there, so we have 2 levels of security there as well. And we're open to anything, as we talk through this.
Seem to be cost efficient.
And
Yeah,
could it
some
be done
ideas.
this summer?
So I think a lot of the other pieces could, and even if we're looking at like the front brickwork there, that's something that could be done in 2 sections because you have your pillar in the middle that holds it up. So even if we couldn't get it all done during the summer, we could probably finish one area while they're finalizing the second area and make it safe and secure for students.
Principal Miller have.
I think the latter there, he wants something that's gonna be functional.
Would it impede on that area?
Yeah, they kind of make it feel more the but as you pass them by it.
Not if you did like gates or doors. I mean, even when we kind of, Mr. House put together just just an idea of, what would like out exterior doors look there by photoshopping some of those together. And it would just be, you could put in, I think, what was about 8 doors. I think it was 2 packs of 4 doors. So you'd have just doors there. We put an overhang to again stay out of the weather a little bit. If you're buzzing it, we can get buzzed in. But we could look at gates as well. We could look at number of, we just want to know if the door's open to something different.
Yes, I think
That's a
if
concern.
we're willing to do something, we don't want it to look like a cage, which is why I was laughing over here. Where
Sure.
we don't want it looking like you're entering a prison.
Louder.
The other one, why don't we talk to the tea group? They've been doing a number of different exterior renovations with outdoors. They might have some suggestions that we've not thought of. Or Patty, sorry, the Patty group. I mean, it sounds like he's very much interested in working with the school district. He might just have something that.
They might be able to help dress it up. I think it's more of a security.
He didn't like all that new concrete.
Correct, I agree, but he might have seen something that we have not seen somewhere else. That's the only reason why I make it.
I would say, now. Unless you're gonna miss class.
Well, does that make sense? I didn't really think much about that, but.
Well, no, I mean, if you could make it look like a gate, but have durability.
And I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. I'm thinking, US embassies around the world have gates. And you go to Porter Public Library, it doesn't But I'm thinking, trying to understand, does it have to be full? You talked about. This is to keep the bad folks out. Well, that's the thing, the libraries. Opening, welcoming. Feeling. And the back patio area, you can get into the library. But there is that barrier, no one's gonna get through the gate, I guess they do. And the doors, I think. Are one way. If you were in there, you could go out to the courtyard.
Yeah, so I think with this project and the direction that I think Todd are gonna need this, even as I'm looking just at that, to where, from what I think I'm hearing from the board is it doesn't have to be the vestibule that we were discussing. What we want is at the end goal, we want that double layer eventually, right? And we want it to. And so I think with that, I don't think we have a strong meeting, whether it's at that entry point or if it's right at the door, whichever one, and then, I don't know, gate, door, different drawings and try to get an idea. We may find that the gates look terrible and the doors look great, the doors look great, the gates look better than we thought they were going to, and it works. So I think I'm hearing an openness to explore that.
I agree with Liz, I mean, we don't want it to look like bricks, of course. Great.
Only if you're a fifth or sixth grader.
I don't know, is that helpful?
Absolutely. No, I appreciate the feedback and the guidance.
Oh, I thought you were.
Just gonna say, I just can't believe that we're going to. Oldest building in the district. The newest building.
That old there.
I am out.
It still looks great.
And no buses this year.
No, not just,
Projected buses for next year, talking about as many as 3. Our oldest bus in the district is out.
I'd have to check. I would say it's in that 17, 18, 19 range.
So I want to send a message that stick to 3 buses a year and have this conversation. Maybe 2 or.
I think that 2 to 3 that you had talked about, we don't want to end up in the position that we were past. Yeah, we had to go and buy, I don't remember how many it was.
There's 11.
Yeah, we don't want to end up in that position again. I do think if the vestibule depending, and I think it sounds like there's a lot of flux, if that project can't get done this year, I think there should be. We got enough on the wish list, so I think we can do something else on.
Like a sign.
I was already going with sign when the high school painting project got put back, so there could be something else hold up also.
I think this needs to be our top priority for safety.
No, I agree.
Absolutely,
If
absolutely
it
is.
cannot get
It is.
done this year,
Say that again.
if it cannot get done just based off of timing and everything, that's the reason why.
But if we're going for something other than the whole vestibule, it sounds like it could be done.
Well, again, adding that second level of security is our top priority.
Right.
It's been our main project for this planning this year, for this upcoming summer, and that is our goal to have it done.
And companies you're talking with, I guess we have.
Correct. Yeah,
Yes,
made
they're
good
ones
work
we
for
worked
us.
with in the schools.
What else do you need to hear from us?
I have some good guidance here. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, that's.
Yeah, we're gonna watch.
John, I would just be worried about getting this.
Oh,
I would.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
I think this is how.
She's the president.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you. What we're gonna do, and when you look at the agenda, we're getting into,
while, yeah, so I had to refresh my computer. Yes, so we're gonna get into board committee reports, and I'm going to hijack the legislative report that getting here to talk about a few items. That's kind of been referenced that we were talking, Mr. Rouse was talking about. And so there's two items legislatively that I would like to touch on this evening. One is a House budget proposal, and then other one is something that needs to be in this week is DEI verification. Department of Education. Department of Education. But let's start with the House budget. And, you know, when I was presenting and giving my state of the schools, and you heard a lot of stuff about schools, and I made the comment that, you know, people watch what's happening nationally, but truly the immediate direct impact at the Westlake is going to come from a lot of this stuff. And so what happens in this evening has a impact on our schools. That's happening. I wasn't trying to, but the House really came through for us here and showed that their impact is stronger. So this is how the budget goes. The governor releases his proposal. The House then released their budget. Now we're in a place where the Senate established their proposal. And even after that happens, House and Senate reconcile. Still here that it gets to the governor as he signs it, he does have the so the so look at it, we're going to just sit back at governor. So, yep, here's the budget. Just to have it out there to make it very yes. Any district should give a portion back to this concept really being it's been described has been school districts been very And this. So we made this like Westlake. We did not design this resolution that day. Let me talk about our story. Prior to that conversation before, but bear with me on this. The city of Westlake is excellent. They've been fantastic. As the school district of the city, we have benefited from how the city was. The fact that they have that graduate. Everything at once. Everything. They well fellow that that's that some districts do things like robotics and emergency. Now, when an emergency all of our levies now, if you're going to have something that they have emergency levies, they load and then their taxes automatically raise the tax. Point of floor, so state of Ohio, state has said that qualified schools from the state have to charge your bills. So they look at the taxes. Everything's that's based and then So for one bill from the third party. So right now, it's ours. So. So. That emerged. Let me. We also, when we look at the consolidation of mineral resources, maybe negotiate organizations. That's staffing, maintenance, and investments. Investments that have made this year. That's the. So it's not just buying a, money that. The expectation has been. And that's exactly. So when we look at the results, Westlake City Schools have not passed an operating levy since 2006. There wasn't a ballot, we found a ballot initiative that happened twice. That's brought it up earlier. And something that education purposes. This is half of our that's assessment. That's this. Salt. Your seed. Out. That marks. That's great. That is all the problem. Part that we talked about. Yeah, absolutely. Make sure. $1,000. This is a rough part. So you don't have to put the taxes. One of the pieces that's in here. They changed. So Rocky Rivers, I mean, you're gonna be roughly, just rough math there. It's 11 cents. I love it. What is Westlake?
Not just like it's. Of the 611 in District Ohio, 124 are low. So we're talking 400 roughly that are gonna be impacted. Not just Westlake thing, and the surrounding area. There's really need to.
All right, can I ask a question? Maybe it's not there. Cash flow. But it's separate. Said on that map, there are two districts.
There are two based on the 30. Oh, so it's simple.
So we need to. This concept here, and this is something. that. About whether look at that's, they say history. We are repeating. So it is really profits. Now, it's not included public life, it's big construction. So as you know, that's over the past 20 to 30 years. Structure. So we will treat if so as we go back to that house bill, like, so it doesn't insult as the And that's, yeah. Yeah. Artificial. So in the intent of hospital, it's not that. Shift. So tax tax 17. Following year, we now the problem I run into is, as an if you're a financial advisor, you know we can't go work firms, but we 5% is because that's really the once expenditure. So even say we're dropping, let's say we drop down 5%, we're going to give you about that. So we're going to be constantly putting in how many bills and how long, because you're not going to go 20 years without being on the ballot in a situation. It's not possible. If we're at that 30%, we're going to just have that issue. If we go over, they just take it away. So it's really going to more savings. And as we start to use that, so you're going to gain more of a if on this judgment, if we go to 32%, they drop taxes next year. So it's that game. You're going to see that really my hope is that they go more. What do we do with the money that Dr. Nagel spoke about? It needs to be paid. Here, we invested. We invested in the short term. What do we, we're limited on what we can invest in, but we are able to invest in and we often invest in 3, 4, 5 years. So if they come out before June here and tell me that in January you're losing, $17 million, there's a real possibility that they have to sell investments, possibly investments that are longer maturity, potentially at loss. I mean, Mr. Pratt, you're trying to sell 5-year maturity, liquidate it right now. It may take a loss on that depending on what rate that initially. And we would want to be prepared for it because it would create some challenges. So not only now, but how we invest in our future. Because we are able to actually see millions of dollars trusting both in our arrangement or operating account and also our investment. So it actually benefits the district and benefits the community. It's where we invest that. The other piece that we just have to, it's not massively huge, but it is something that to play is I'm not sure everyone realizes when you're on the ballot, the district pays for it. And I'm not talking about like a levy committee who's promoting the levy. I'm talking about the county will charge us for essentially the use of the whole locations. So per precinct, we get billed as, or it's directly deducted from our payments that our tax payments. So it becomes a pretty much you know, I grew up, you know, 80s and 90s. Those are great show. I love DuckTales. You know, and I think that sometimes people look at this and say, well, you know, school has all this money. They're diving through gold coins, you know, swimming in the gold coins. This is not, this is about planning for us to stay off the ballot, to stretch out our legs, you know, as long as possible, to provide that stability for our community, and stability for our students. And this would be a challenge for us, that keeps its way through and stays in the but we said publicly we want to take a measured approach to this. What we're talking about here tonight, talking about is having this conversation, some stream down into this. We're trying to have that measured approach that we want to make sure that we're doing what's right.
It's also worth noting that Dr. Hagen talking. Our next board meeting. Starting.
Have some verbiage that you may like to share.
I'm happy to share the verbiage that I've got. Basically, it's a whereas, the proposed budget, that includes mention regarding requirements for the current funds. And, of their operating budget for taxpayers, whereas. Provide high quality education, carry over capital for their strengths. Address all plans. I am adding its verbiage about how we have not passed an operating budget since 2006. Not have purchased budget or increase. Or we strongly oppose carryover provision in the Ohio School funding budget, and that definitely has a verbiage about Senate also eliminating the provision in the district budget for financial stability. It says to both the Department of the House and Senate and government. This is something people are interested in. Wordsmith, we've got 2 weeks before other interested. One other there are a number of districts that are working on verbiage. Some of them are bundling it with fair school funding. They are much more impacted by that at the state house level. Some of them are separating it out. I would say just have one percentage. We can see what we're gonna have a better sense.
We have some time before. I think one of the things I want to point out, you know, the term advocacy, really, it's educating people, even as but Sweeney or anybody else, it's showing them an effective law. So you have that perspective. It's a simple. How many Texas? That's really I can see issues. And sometimes we need to show them. Talk about being a certified teacher. To talk about the fact that
believe me, if you told us 2 years ago, burn it or burn it was, then that list that Adam House put up here. I mean, we didn't just spend giving the $17 million, $16 million now. There's $10 million worth of stuff we could have done. We didn't do it. That goes against the DNA of our entire. We're not. That's not the expectation we have on this. So sometimes advocacy is actually just sharing perspective of how consider as you're looking at this legislation, because there is talk and we're not getting ahead of our students with anything. But some of the quotes, it's like, well, they're going to push school districts to try and spend it really quick. Well, like I said, that's expensive. And so it also aids that area where, it's the community against schools. Where it's like, oh, the schools turn around and spend that money. That was then Columbus can say, well, we tried to give it to you, but you're spend it. And I think that really does not sit well. We could put the slide up again to where we do, and we have for a long time about what we do on taxes. So to put us in a position like that, just and remember one of the earlier slides, we're not there. But to your point, you take certain that all the writing, especially what that every good city, like the city of Westlake, that has AAA rating, has money in the bank, and has their 5-year, you can't do that. Every solid corporation, successful corporation, successful foundation, successful family, they have a solid balance sheet. They have solid capital. And by giving into such a plan, that would really really work. We have long-term plans, we have our excellent balance sheet, our cash flow statement. We know it's going to work. Citizens of Westlake, we've all banked on the worst of the entire community. The community says, you're doing great work. We've made sacrifices to get here, and we don't want to give it all away. And we have a so, Mr. Paducah's point, just to make certain our audience, it seemed to me from the governor that the governor was kind to those in the House, saying that it's an interesting point. And the same or the message from the House, Senate, I don't know.
I think, especially if we do, especially going on right now. That's going back right at the next element I would say is let's see what's out of the Senate. It might be to track some that work based off of the posts, whether it's but we also make whether it's parents and staff. I think we could send out an email very specifically stating what basically is here and giving them verbiage to then take on to reaching center. Standard. I think that's what they're-
I think that's part of the reason. Right. Actually putting slides in. Just that I did was put these two these on here. And I did it a couple times respecting and considering where this has been essentially about Westlake community efforts. And I used community in general specifically because we have to do this thing because there is nothing out every year. The expectation are we do believe that 30% cap will punish districts like Westlake for good, long-term planning and fiscal oversight. And we're hopeful that with the advocacy of our community, the Senate and House will find a solution that provides true property tax relief without this perceived punishment. That's really how I wanted to close my thoughts on this, but it's obviously that talk about it. Say.
My 2 cents. That's what-
Beverage. But I think. I think the president. All right. I do have one more legislative item that I would like to get to. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I do want to bring it board's attention. By Friday, as it states on the bottom of that graph that I have up there, that by Friday, this Friday, the 18th, you have to sign a verification that are not participating in DEI in Westlake. I know that date on the bottom. This is dated April 7th. The U.S. Department of Education has changed the date. However, the Ohio Department of Education came out and said, yes, West Department of Ed changed it to the 24th, but in Ohio, we are maintaining that. I'm not necessarily, and we've had conversations just about whether or not it's just simply sign action and the way this is structured. Sex, race, nation.
That's subject to interpretation outside of your direction.
Yeah, so I guess the thing about it and really the core of it, and we've gone through our
board policies, we've gone through our student handbooks, we've gone through everything that we have, just to seeing if there's something that we didn't consider, didn't know of, and
we as who?
me and some people on my team,
Okay.
administrative team, and be able to go through it. And some AI, to
Right.
be able
So,
to
right.
dump things in and see if we,
Makes
see if they
sense.
find something that we don't. And the other thing, and so we're really not seeing it, and the only areas that we need to really revisit would be like, gender-based or a group like women's leadership group, you know, or any type of or Italian American club. We have that, you know, where because the rules state that the admission to a group, you should not be denied anything based on sex, race, national origin. So if it's an Italian heritage group and only Italians are allowed to join, then that's a violation and we can't do that. So.
But I don't think any of our clubs are like that.
No, they're not. I don't believe they are, but one of the things that we need to do, what I'm gonna ask, and I'm gonna send a message out to staff. And so my request is gonna be to resubmit your purpose statements. And because we'd have to go back through and find all the purpose statements. I even think back to a WHBS story, I think from last year or the year before, where they covered the club fair that we have and they talk to kids. And I remember specifically one of the groups saying, well, this is the name of our group, but everybody's welcome. And so I know that we're there, but just for this, I want to make sure we have it official. And then we really even have to look at our scholarships to where, you know, we can have a scholarship saying this scholarship is only for students who go to Michigan. Okay, which we have, which is fine because, you know, it's saying they have to, you know, for people going to that school, but anybody who applies could be any sex, could be any race or any nation of origin. It's not about that. It's about that particular school. But if we have a scholarship come in and say only females can apply for the scholarship, or that, even if it's not a scholarship within our district, if even if it's a third party that's coming through us, we would then have to go and say, listen, we can't promote your scholarship unless you modify your requirements to apply. Okay, so we can't promote scholarships. So like I said, as far as programming, we don't have programming, you know, but then you have to go down from layer to layer to layer to see the different items that can be covered, and things like making sure your organizations are structured a certain way, scholarships are being offered there. So there's really not a lot for us in there. So it's not anything that is going to be a heavy lift.
So we're not concerned that there's maybe some smaller student groups that might be on the fringe.
But that's why I'm sending out to all staff, and I'm gonna send something to staff saying if you do have a group and anything that has any type of name, obviously Science Olympiad is something we're not worried about. Right. You know, it has nothing in the name or in any type of way you can look at it and say this is only for, you know, this sex, this race, or. But it was open to everybody. Yeah, it was open to everybody, and so, but you're gonna have that. I mean, there are gonna be times where you can have your Italian Heritage Club, and you can say it's open to everyone, and maybe the only people interested are Italian, and that's just how it is. But it is open to everybody, and so that's one of the things that, you know, but you can have people who are just interested in Italian heritage, you know, and then they want to go and learn those type of things and may join the group. So that's one of the things that we would have to do, is just make sure all of our purpose statements are aligned to make sure that it's not only for a certain group. And I really think it's going to be more gender based than anything else. You know, women's leadership is an example. You know, when you have a women's leadership group, well, the implication there is that this is designed specifically for females. So I think we need to make sure either the purpose statement is going to be very clear that it is open to everybody, or it just becomes a leadership group or something like that.
Would you be, in that particular case, would you be able to create a men's leadership group?
You see, you know what, but then that group would be would not allow women in. So I mean, this, and so what we're looking, oh, it's taken down, that's okay. But what we're looking at here, and based on the guidance that was sent and the document I need to sign, is we can't create groups that will discriminate against sex, race, nation of origin, that type of thing. Okay, so I can't create a men's leadership group. I can't create a women's leadership group.
So do we have any religious groups in the school? Because I know some of the kids. Didn't it come up last year that they wanted a place to pray or something?
But that's not a religious group, all
Well,
right?
it's
And
a
that's
club
almost
that's
like,
open to us.
yeah, and then it's almost like saying, you know what, we have meatless options for Lent. You know, we'll accommodate to groups. I mean, but we don't organize or structure. If someone says, and we've kind of gone through it before in regard to the religious release time. If St. Lad says, you know, that we've started a group and at noon, we're gonna do Bible study. Go ahead, you know, we'll release you, you know, or if it's over congregational or, you know, or any type of thing like that, or the Catholic faith comes out and says, you know what, we've now decided, you know, the Pope had said that everybody needs to, all Catholics need to pray at 9 a.m. every day. And if people say we need a place to do that, then there's a room over here. And if you want to go do that, go ahead. You know, we would do that for that would happen with any religious type of group and anything like that. It's not a set club where we have we have created a prayer club or something like that. It's, can we have space to do this or do that? And the answer is going to be yes.
So guess the more kitty club.
So what?
The more kitty club.
Anything else for the legislative liaison?
That was a lot of stuff though.
No,
a lot going on.
thank you all. Thank you for all of that information.
Legislative,
Student achievement? Student achievement?
Nope.
Nope. Superintendent committee reports,
We've had policy
Yeah.
committee, but you guys have seen the policies,
Right.
so I don't think we need to go. through this
treasurer
again.
committee reports.
We had met last month. We'll be meeting again to do the 5-year forecast in May. We set the date for that already. And so we can present the forecast for the May board meeting. So
Thank you. And you'll
Seems like we
share
just
that
had
date
it.
with us.
Did I read in that bill that with the changes that they would no longer require a 5-year forecast, would drop it down?
there's been
to 3?
conversations about, dropping down to a 3-year forecast again.
Which would make it easier to,
It would,
it wouldn't, our problem wouldn't go away, but it would make it easier to.
well, I think that's the scary part about it is, I think sometimes, you know, when you put your blinders on,
Right.
you don't see what's coming. And, you know, my thing would be, in my professional opinion is, I would encourage the district to still do a 5-year
Oh, yeah.
forecast, even if we only submit 3 years. But, we want to be able to have a longer range outlook.
Just
It's,
anti fiscally responsible.
yeah.
To your point, right?
Yeah.
Any,
Should I put that in the resolution?
No, please don't.
any, I can move on to board comments.
I
Melissa?
would like to say congratulations to Westlake High School on a phenomenal guys and dolls.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. I only saw the performance on Saturday night. I wish I could have gone to the performance on either Friday or Sunday, so I could have seen both performances. But my daughter reassured me that the Sunday performance was as good as the Saturdays.
Yeah, I saw a flawless production on Thursday night.
Same.
Yeah, outstanding.
It's so amazing that we're able to. put
So
on
much
those
talent,
productions,
right?
And I mean, it's great.
How about that? I've been on a challenge team, huh?
Yeah.
And
you
didn't
go.
Hillary Patrick win the
Oh,
Barry
Barry
Manilow Award?
she's gonna beat Barry Manilow.
Is she
Yes, Barry Manilow is gonna present her with the award.
It's cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
And,
I mean, talk about a legend.
and
Yeah.
when and where?
At Barry Manilow concert in Cleveland.
Wow.
I don't know the date of it.
Yeah.
But I know Katie Eason's going. But she was going to the concert anyway.
Yeah.
And speaking of Katie, if I can jump into board
Please.
comments and just thank her for a great senior appreciation event. She did an incredible job organizing it. She had over 85 people register, and we had darn close to that show up.
Can you describe it a little bit more, like, you served,
Sure, we just had treats
Yeah.
and so she was able to get a donation from Chick-fil-A for cookies. She bought a sheet cake from I think Giant Eagle or something, and Kim Tucker, one of our elementary principals, made personalized cookies as well. So it just, and then she had students serving coffee and punch and those kind of things. And it was really well received and a lot of fun. And then they went right into the show. So our seniors went right in to the guys and dolls, and what I heard, they loved it.
I should also add with Katie and the entire team that behind the W, they can hit the mailboxes. It's really nice.
Great. It's great.
Is that posted on our website?
Yes. It's on there. Well, it's actually a flip book. So if you go on our website, it has that, page turning type of.
So if say somebody wanted to post it on their social media.
You do that. It's listed there.
Thank you, Dr. Goggin, for flipping pancakes for Kiwanis.
Actually didn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can just.
Yeah.
We also had a very.
I was looking for.
Yeah. I was there a little
Figured
late.
you're back. Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. And board member Lamb for participating in the Westlake Educational Foundation run.
Likewise,
Good work.
Mr. Third Place finisher.
The
Group,
the foundation had a super 4-mile run raising funds for the Westlake.
Is that
Education
16 over or 7?
Which was,
I was wondering what age group you ran.
I was in the old man's. Oh.
I don't know if I'd use the word wonderful.
I wanted to bring up something that an association of nonprofits has brought to our attention, and that is the Westlake Veterans Memorial Park proposal. So this is something that a number of nonprofits in Westlake have a dream, and their dream is to build a Westlake Veterans Memorial Park. Some of the places that they have suggested might be a good place for such a park: Plague Park, potentially city land, either across the street from the police department or in the corner next to the police department, right on the corner of Hilliard and Dover Center. Another piece of real estate that they were looking at, real estate that we're discussing tonight, right on Dover Center, in front of the Dover campus, where the old Dover School is.
Old Dover School, yeah.
Thank you. And why would they suggest something like that? They wanted the board to have this simple white paper along with some renditions of what it might look like, with the idea that visibility, association with academics and education, with Westlake City Schools, and as a means of educating students. They've had conversations with the city, including the mayor. It would be something that if the Board of Education said, hey, this is a great idea and we want to participate, the city of Westlake would participate in some way with either maintenance and or building. But just it's something to consider, and I'll just mention it to you, and I'd like to talk about it again at some point. Any questions on that? Yeah.
Well, we need to talk about it, discuss it. And also, what's the procedure for this request that our 2 teachers made tonight for $7,000?
Yeah.
When do we discuss that?
Is that something?
I don't even know if that's something that needs to be board approved.
It wouldn't, but there is a process that we have to follow when we select architects and things like that.
But if we're paying the money, wouldn't it have to be board approved? If
No,
we-
it doesn't reach a threshold.
There's a threshold.
Below.
So you could just automatically give them the $7,000 and say, go at it?
We could,
If we follow the process.
Okay.
If we follow
Okay,
the-
so
the-
it isn't something we need to.
Yeah, Todd's not gonna go out and buy a car for $7,000.
And what the Educational Foundation went through was, gosh, this certainly seems like it's more of a Board of Education decision rather than, say, a nonprofit stepping in and providing, because there's a lot involved in it. Joe, if that's helpful, yeah.
The only thing I would say on the Veterans Memorial, I'm 100% behind it. I think it would be fantastic.
Okay.
My only concern would be is that the land where the old Dover was, at one point, we were almost going to use it for a reconfiguration of busing and staging and things like that. And I would really hate to give up something that could be potentially used for us. And it could be a variety of things. And it might not even be for us. It could be for or that's 5 or 10 years down the road from
Boy,
now.
look at that long-term
Right,
planning. See,
right,
that's
right.
what we do.
So that's, even though it's not a big piece of land, as Scott would say.
I agree.
We really don't want to ever give up something that.
I think
and
it should
is a
be
great
on city
cost.
land, really, on city.
The old city
land.
hall would be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
We'll engage in conversations.
Okay.
We'll meet with the groups and we'll kind of see where it goes.
One of my biggest concerns is with it being on school property, especially knowing how many kids from the Dover campus then head south to library. Depending upon what is put there and making sure that it is respectful. Or, you don't want somebody driving by and there's kids skateboarding across the memorial type of thing. So that's one of my.
Leaving their.
When-
Big
and-
gulp on it or something.
And when you think of a Veterans Memorial, what are some of the things that come to your mind? First,
Flag, definitely.
Bunch of
Okay.
flags.
all right,
Flags.
A solemn place.
solemn,
Yeah.
I think
Parking.
water, I just think of
Yeah.
water, I think of BC, water. Flags, what have you, but something that Mr. Tetzlaff mentioned is he thought it would be appropriate at Clay Park with the water area there, solemn, respectful, what have you.
And that's
So-
also where the parade for Memorial
Where
Day.
the parades of
Right.
Memorial Day is, right? So,
There's a lot of room in parking up there.
right, so some other thoughts out there as well. Is there a motion to adjourn to executive session?
Not yet.
Oh, wait,
Not yet.
his
No,
New
not
York
yet.
trip.
I got-
Oh, you gotta
Chaperone.
Listen here,
speak up.
we went over the 4 miler, we went over
Give us the
Godspell.
PG version.
I had the unique pleasure and honor of being a chaperone for our choir trip to New York City this past
Nice.
weekend.
How many days was it?
We left on Thursday morning, and I'll tell you what, we really banged it out over the course of 4 days.
Yes.
Our very first day, I believe it was our first day, we went down to St. John, the Divine Church. And that's where the kids performed, and it was
How
an
did they sound?
amazing performance.
Yeah,
There was actually, I was able to go 2 years ago to Chicago. And they sounded great there too. This year, there was a lot of people in the audience. There was actually an audience of people that watched the performance, and it was great to see. And the kids did an amazing job. Mrs. Butler did an amazing job putting it all together. And keeping everything flowing. There were no visits to any emergency rooms or anything like that. Everyone came home okay. But the one cool thing about the church that they performed in was that apparently if you put the Statue of Liberty inside of it on its side, it can span the entire length
Oh,
of
wow.
the church, which was pretty cool.
Realistic.
That's all.
The kids were able to do a number of things after that. We went down to Times Square, visited there. The kids were able to, and I'm trying to go through things in my mind as I'm telling you. We went to Sylvia's restaurant in Harlem and had dinner. We went to a place called Gale's that the servers are actually performers that are hoping to get into shows. So every 2 minutes, someone's belting out a Broadway show tune to the people who are eating there, which was really cool. And it gave the kids an opportunity to see, up and comers, so to speak. They were able to, the children, or it seems the young adults were able to go to a workshop where they learned about how performances are put together. They were able to kind of put one together themselves, and I believe one of the ladies that helped put it on was also in a show that we saw.
Oh, what show did you see?
Well, I'm getting to that.
Okay, all right.
The whole story behind that too.
Okay.
But that was Saturday. We went to a Yankees game. They lost.
To a Yankees game.
It was
We
cold.
made it into the Yankees game. We were down the right field line. We saw, Judge was right in front of us. Everything you hear about Yankee fans is true. They were loud. They were obnoxious. They were screaming at everybody. None of us in our group had any type of MLB paraphernalia on, so we were in the clear. The two folks behind us had San Francisco Giants gear on. We all felt as though they were the brave souls in the stadium that night. But throughout this whole experience, it was great for the students to be out and about in New York City, to really take it in. And it was, just one of those life experiences that you get to be a part of. So it was not just hey, we're going to sing. It was a, hey, we're going to experience the entire atmosphere of New York City, which is a city that never sleeps. It really doesn't. Other things that we were able to do was to jump onto the Staten Island ferry so that we could go past the Statue of Liberty. Got an opportunity to see the Statue of Liberty twice, both going out to Staten Island, and then we immediately jumped off the boat and got back on it, and came back and saw it again. But one of the neat things was, so we're on the boat and there's seating, the kids are all seated, and we're getting ready to leave, and there's this old couple that's just sitting amongst all of our Westlake students. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I hope they're, I hope they're used to loud situations, because these kids, they're gonna be loud, they're kids. Well, lo and behold, as we're traveling out to Staten Island, come to find out that one of the other chaperones had talked to them before getting on the boat, and come to find out that it was Sarah Hyland's mom and dad. Now, Sarah Hyland is the daughter, the oldest daughter in Modern Family.
Okay.
And it was her mom and dad. Well, ironically enough, we were going later that night to see The Great Gatsby that was starring Sarah Hyland.
Oh, my.
So we got to spend a few minutes talking to her mom and dad, and they were, they were more than happy to talk about Broadway and performing, and encourage the students to, stick with it as long as they can. And Mr. Hyland was talking about how, the kids need to read Shakespeare, every day, because it's Shakespeare is amazing, and it was a really neat to see them. But we did get to the shows. We saw The Outsiders. That was great. And the performance was amazing. The kids were all like glued to the stage. Went to dinner at a pizza place. I obviously had to have dinner at a pizza place. Went back, saw The Great Gatsby, and that show was just amazing. And it was as amazing, if not more. And it was great to see the kids, on the bus ride back from both performances, because they were just talking the entire time about what they saw, how, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? And different students were talking about different things, which was really neat to see with regards to, the performances on the stage, to, the stage, how it changed throughout the course of the two shows, and everything that went on behind the scenes that they had been a part of. Not but what 2 weeks ago with Guys and Dolls, they were able to see some of it going on and know how to check it out. So it was a great time. Like I said earlier, Mrs. Butler did an amazing job of putting it all together. The chaperones, there's 16, I think 16 total chaperones. I mean, corralling 82 kids going down a New York street is quite a task, but all the chaperones kept it together, and all the students were great on every aspect of the trip, and it was a great experience for them all. And I hope that they really took away from it what I took away from it, and it was for me, it was to see them, being a part of New York City. So
Excellent. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Very nice.
Any other?
Well, hold on, I still have one more.
Save it for 2 weeks.
We're gonna get the hook.
Bus ride back, someone throw up.
No, I actually met with the head of the library today, Port Public Library, which was great. Getting a tour of the library, had great conversation with him.
Director Mangles?
Yep,
Wonderful.
he had me before I walked in, but
Are you a member of Rotary?
I am not. No,
Oh, I thought he would have invited you Wednesday. I'll
he
invite
invited me to be
Come-
part of his
come-
band.
come stand with
Looking for a
their-
drummer.
Oh, his band.
His band.
Looking for a drummer.
Are you gonna drum for?
No, I cannot drum. But the library is just an amazing place, and I'm so happy that we're able to work with him and to really help build on what they've got going on there.
Fantastic. What else?
My report is complete.
Any other board comments?
No, I moved to adjourn to.
All right, I second
Adjourn.
discussion. If I may, we have a motion and a second to adjourn to executive session to discuss the appointment, employment dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of an employee or official. Any comments? You can call roll.
To enter into executive session at 9:03 PM.
It's a
Lizinski,
long meeting, yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Fanukin.
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
you're not.
Yes.
Motion carries. You're in executive session.
This is a record, isn't it? Very long.
This is an average.
That's when
planning
this is
commission
not the-
meeting.